top of the top, man. I wanted to come in here this morning, man. First off, I'm going to say good morning, top of the morning, man. Happy Veterans Day. Today is Veterans Day. If you have loved ones that were in the Army, Marine, any type of service, enlisted service, and they, casualty of war just passed away, you remembering the veterans today. So shout out to all the fallen soldiers, all the veterans that are not fallen soldiers also. So shout out to them. But hey, today, man, I want to go over this little Durk indictment, man. We're going to go over this a little bit. It's come to my attention that nobody really knows what they're doing when it comes to breaking this paperwork down. So we're going to do it. We're going to do it the right way. We've been reading this paperwork time and time again. You know, we can see what is what, man. We have a lot of resources to go back and look at in terms of comparing cases. So with all that being said, let's do it. All right, we looking at this indictment, man. You know, we got little Durk. He's got murder for hire. We know, he raps about it. We know that, right? He raps about putting money on people's heads. He raps about doing all these things. But the question I have is First Amendment, freedom of speech, man. Like, we run into this. Oh, if you got some coffee, go ahead and sip that, because you're going to do that. Like, I don't know if it's an attack on rappers or if it's an attack on freedom of speech. But the fact that, that this is even applicable in court, I feel is a big problem in court proceedings. And I'll explain why. You know, it's problematic for a music artist of stature of millions of dollars to connect with a demographic of people unless he raps a certain way. Now, you come from a certain neighborhood, you come from inner cities, you're going to be prone to certain things that other people that didn't grow up in inner cities are, right? So there is that. Freedom of speech, though, protects artists, protects a lot of people, even in everyday situations. You know what I'm saying? The election just passed. It's freedom of speech. Everyone exercises it. But when it comes to rap, they want to use your lyrics against you. And I think that there needs to be a line drawn there. If we look at other influences like Draco the Ruler, for instance, how he was facing multiple life sentences and his lyrics were used in court against him. Now, he was found not guilty and wound up beating all those charges, but the fact of the matter still remains, your freedom of speech rights are limited. You know, if you're talking about certain things, it seems. But when they wrote the amendments and the constitutions, there was no limitation. So we just got to say that there. So I'm backing the rappers right here on this, man, and I do not agree with using rap lyrics such as this to convict people in general. You know, there are other ways for the federal government to come up with evidence to prove things. I know that this doesn't really say in court like, yo, this he did this, but it sways a judge, it sways a jury to think this way. So that's that, and I hope from Durk's lawyer's standpoint, they, there are other case references, even YSL Young Thug's trial lyrics brought up, and I don't think the lawyers are good enough, man, to fight this. I don't know what it is, but I feel like when your First Amendment rights are being, in a court of law, it's your advocate's job to knock that shit down. Lawyers cost a shit ton of fucking money, and they know the law. It is their job to advocate for you. And I don't see any of these lawyers really advocating for their clients except for the guy on Young Thug's trial. I don't know if his name was Steele, his lawyer. You need more lawyers like that to advocate for people, for the defendants. You know, rappers come up in a time now where rap is a fantasy. It's wrestling. It's WWE. You gotta make the most. You gotta say the most extreme thing to keep these people entertained. You gotta look an extreme way to keep these people entertained. My thing is, don't crucify the muse. You know what I'm saying? The right to speak and to be an artist is being you're being blocked. You're being what do you call that? Stifled. You're being stifled, and it's a violation of your amendments, whether you call it civil rights or not. I mean, these are black people being targeted. We can say that. Okay, there's evidence that this, there's evidence of that. This is all alleged until this man goes to court. All that stuff is alleged. So I'm just here as an advocation for the craft, for the art, for the music. You know, that this first point here should not be allowed in court. It should be throughout. This is a way that this artist paints. You see what I'm saying? It's the way the mechanic fixes the car. Now you take the skill away from the artist, you take the craft out of the artist, you don't have an artist no more. He doesn't know how to write, he doesn't know how to paint. You switch the canvas. He's used to one canvas. And we see what happens when artists go stagnant and their buzz gets stagnant, and you know, they start going back to crime and things of that nature. But we ain't gonna go too far from the point. We're talking about Lil Durk right now. So getting back to that, we see here, let's do it if I can. This thing is lying. Alright. We see here plaintiffs. These are all, defendants. These are all the defendants on this case. So what does that mean? This is the United States of America plaintiff versus Durk Banks, Kayvon Grant, DeAndre Wilson, Keith Jones, David Lindsay, and Asa Houston, however you say that name. Boogie, right? Cool. Now, it's alleged there are co-conspirators also in this list. Well, not as defendants, but as witnesses and people that make statements for the plaintiff. Those co-conspirators are not to be named because there is safety issues, right? Let's not go too far. All right, now we got charges, man. And this is the first superseding indictment, hinting there will be more, potentially be more. If there are more charges brought up against him, we'll be reading that. Now, the good thing about this is, you know, the Central District of California, it is really tricky to get paperwork in California. News reporters know how you got to do. There's a way to do it. I have a way to do it. Alkovich here did it, or however he got it. But it's tricky. So shout out, man. But we gotta remember, this is all in California, right? California itself, I mean, there's a lot of violence that goes on in there. There's a lot of violence that they've seen in those courts. Murder for hire, conspiracy. All these are not foreign charges to them in California, in Los Angeles, wherever, you know, Central District. So Durk does have that going for him in that sense. Like his legal team, the judge will see these. The federal judge is going to see these and think of the first things first. That's what I want to say. The federal judge is going to see these, and he's going to look at statutes, guidelines for these things, right? We all know he's facing life. It's Durk's legal team's job, and I think it will be his first thing he does, is get a severance or some type of severance from the rest of these people. Because, well, not Mustafa Grant. Just to say these people here. I'm trying to get it to freeze in this lane right here. From 16 to 21 here. Because then, if you could get a severance from a gang case, now it's a reach, but if you could get a severance from these individuals here, their statements against you won't hold as much weight, right? I believe Durk pushed for a severance in one of his other cases as well, and it was granted. I'm not sure if it's the one in Atlanta. I would have to go back and double check. But his legal team knows how to work those severances out, and I think it will benefit him. And this is another thing we gotta look at. Durk is Durk, right? Durk is in jail. Durk is fighting for his life. So this isn't OTF case. We gotta. Durk is doing his thing for his. He's gonna be doing his thing for his own freedom. Lil Durk, Blood, Mustafa Abdul Malak. He's gonna be doing his own thing and you gotta fight this. They ain't giving you no, it's an attack on rappers. We just talked about the First Amendment. It could be an attack on First Amendment. We don't know. But now Durk's got to fight this. So severance doesn't make the most sense. Doesn't sound the farthest from a defense. I wouldn't be surprised if we see some motions coming. But we have these charges that he's charged with. We have, of course, murder for hire resulting in death. All the codes here. Use, carry of machine. See, look, and they can't charge Durk with the use and carry. The use and carry of that machine gun and possession of such. He didn't possess that, right? So this is a combination of all the charges applied to everybody, all the defendants, which is why I said the severance or their separation. Somehow if he can get the lawyers to fight for him in that sense, to understand that OTF is a music label and not a gang. It's the same thing Young Thug had to go through. But that severance, I think, is a big play. Because you can't charge Durk. Well, I guess you could indirectly charge him, but I mean, his lawyer's not gonna go for that. Possession of a machine gun, right? So we know now other people have other charges outside of Durk's murder for hire in this indictment, right? And let's see, all my pages are mixed up now. All right. Right. So, looking at this, man, the use of interstate faculties to commit murder that was the object of the conspiracy resulted in the death of SR. Durk's not charged with conspiracy to commit anything, right? But don't we see that verbiage here? Right here. Use of interstate faculties, means by which the object of the conspiracy was to be accomplished. The object of the conspiracy was to be accomplished in substance. This is what they're going to have to prove. That Durk would place bounties on individuals that he and other OTF members wanted to kill, including TB. As part of the bounty, co-conspirators and unknown individuals would pay someone. So they're alleging that other people would pay people too, right? Including defendants Banks and Wilson, would pay anyone who took part. So it's not just Durk murder for hire, right? So there we know that. 2, co-conspirators known and unknown, including defendants Durk, including Banks and Wilson, would recruit. So this is actively seeking out people to kill people. Well, to find, track, and kill a sole person. But they have to prove that he is bringing people on this label to kill people. Now, I would call that a reach, a big reach by federal investigation. Like, they're stepping all over that First Amendment, freedom of speech. Oh, there's freedom of speech, but there's only certain limitations to there's freedom of speech. There is hate speech. And there is speech that incites people to go do things. Also, we know of a certain president that made a speech not that long ago that incited people to do things that had them committing crimes. He was not charged with murder for hire. That's all I'm saying. But back to the topic. At the direction of the defendant Banks, defendant Grant would procure all this. Right. So to tie Durk to these individuals buying things and all that, they have to get him saying, and maybe they have the evidence to tie that together. We don't know. Using a credit card associated with OTF. Just because they used the credit card associated with OTF does not mean they got it from Durk Banks. Anyone can open up credit lines in people's names. It happens all the time. Now, this isn't all I'm saying is this is for the defense. If I was the defense, this is what I would be looking at. Defendants Grant, Wilson, Jones, Lindsay, and Houston, and co-conspirator number 2 would travel throughout Los Angeles via cars procured by Grant to find, track, and kill TB. Alright. So we know this is what they're alleging. This is all from the Quando Rondo thing. We know that. We all know, you know what I'm saying, people were antagonizing Lil Durk to slide for Vaughn. I'm sure they'll bring that up in court. They'll have lives, Instagram lives of Durk and music and, all the show and the pony dance. Show and pony, man. They're going to put the show on. They have to have evidence, physical evidence, proof, cell phone, wires. All that's going to have to come up in court also, though. All witnesses have to be called to testify. All these people are going to be cross-examined. All the investigators. We just seen the Young Thug trial. Get ready for the Durk one. Now it's going to be long. It's a big fight, murder for hire, amongst other things. But know what I say about that severance. At the direction of defendant Banks, defendant Wilson would pay, the bounty. Definitely, excuse me for that. I'm drinking coffee. overt acts on or about the following dates in furtherance of conspiracy and to accomplish its object. Defendants Banks, Grant, Lindsay, and co-conspirators and others known and unknown committed various overt acts in Los Angeles County within the Central District of California and elsewhere, including but not limited to: following the killing of DB on or about defendant Banks using coded language told defendant Wilson, co-conspirators 2, 4, and 5, and others that he would pay a bounty or monetary reward. So, oh, my bad. This is upsetting to me a little bit. Co-conspirators 2, 4, and 5. 3 people. Saying he was using coded language. Who's going to decode that language in court? It would have to be someone on the case. Or a member. Someone of credibility. Who could do that? And why aren't the co-conspirators listed in the indictment? If you conspire to do a crime, that's conspiracy. You co-conspire to do a crime, you're also conspiring with someone else to do a crime. But we're not listing your names. And others. So Lil Durk is just going around after King Von died, and rest in peace to King Von. Defendant Banks used coded language and told all these people he would pay a monetary reward to anyone who took part in the killing. Oh man, y'all know y'all want to get this bag or something, you could help out with the, well, come on, man. Alright. But like I said, this is legal team stuff. Knocking, they got to get to work. They're overt acts. This is what they feel lead to the facts. On August 18, 2022, one or more co-conspirators, including defendant Banks and co-conspirator 4, learned that TB was visiting California and staying at a hotel in Los Angeles. On August 18th, 2022, defendant Banks and Grant flew from Miami, Florida to Los Angeles, California on a private jet so that defendant Banks and Grant could help coordinate the murder. Is that the only reason they flew? Like, how, I mean, I want to see these where the wiretaps have to be. I mean, this dude, Jam, literally, if that's the case, holds the keys, man. Because it's quite obvious. They would have to have wiretape recordings, some type of recordings to have evidence to the facts. Like, it feels like the verbiage in this paperwork is like they are very confident that they know the tone of this, the paperwork rather, is like, all right, we know certain things based on certain evidence that they have. Of course, they don't have all the evidence. They're good at that. Of trying to convince you of that. That's how they get the conviction rate to be what it is. Right? Now, we look at this overt act number 6, and it says Banks texted co-conspirator 3, "Don't book no flights under no names involved with me. Damaging." They need the records to prove this, though. Gotta have the phone records. Do they have that? I would assume so. But we don't know. On August 18th, also, who was using the phone at that time? Was it Durk? Durk has many people that use his phone, I would imagine. Or he has multiple phones. Case in point, you prove that he's making these texts. Another tough sell. Overt act number 7. Using a credit card, co-conspirator 3. So co-conspirator 3 seems to be the go-to for a lot of this, right? Co-conspirator 3 is the individual who is buying all this stuff for these people. So co-conspirator 3 books flights, rents cars, like an assistant. But he's not being charged, it seems. Or not yet. I'm not sure what this co-conspirator situation is. But we know that co-conspirator 3 confirmed to defendant Wilson via text messages that defendants Wilson, Jones, and Lindsay had the same tickets for airlines. So we know Durk's not even coordinating this. So why would he coordinate this? I'm just saying, we got to think about it. Defendant, look at this. On August 18th, defendant Wilson messaged a friend, on my way to LA. Hey. I mean, so I just wanted to do a quick breakdown. We keeping over act number 13, defendant grant purchase 4 black ski mat. So, like, they're saying they did all of these things in preparations for the homicide. And they got some witness statements, I would imagine, some maybe wiretaps. I think it's going to be difficult for them to charge Lil Durk with this murder for hire. I think they violate a lot of the First Amendment rights by tainting the case with his lyrics. I think it's just lazy law, trying to paint an individual out to be bad. So yeah, I just wanted to put this video out here so that we could just go over some of this information and lend some eyes to some of these the content creators out here. Like, there are no faces in these either. Like, do you have, are they on video? You gotta show it. I mean, this is gonna be an interesting case, man, to say the least. I think there are a lot of points that the government's gonna have to prove. We're gonna find out a lot of information. We're gonna find out who co-conspirator 3, 4, 5 is. All that will come to flew back to Chicago, and why they're not being charged and so forth and so on. We'll find all that out. But if you haven't done so already, hit that subscribe button. Thumb up the video. I am just getting back in the rotation and the flow of dropping these videos, man. I had to find time to do it. Life is crazy right now. My family and I are a little displaced. So, you know, any of the donations help if you can. It's at $Inquired Mind with an E. That goes straight to me. And it helps, you know, bring out these videos and keep me a place to stay, so forth and so on. So shout out to everybody that's been a supporter so far. I appreciate y'all. But yeah, stay tuned, man. We'll break down this case again. I'm thinking of going live with it also, and we could do it live. So yeah, thanks for watching. Peace.